the carry interest tax deduction. And even though it's a little complicated, it's important for you to know because this may be a major battle coming down the pike. Here's what carry interest is. When corporate executives, I'm making things a little simpler than they are, but that we don't have enough time. When corporate executives sitting on the wealth of the corporation, starting in the 1970s, saw that wealth go crazy because workers were no longer given higher wages and so their productivity just made more profits, those corporate executives took those rising profits and started paying themselves wild amounts of money. Of course, they didn't say that. They didn't say, oh boy, we don't have to pay rising wages anymore to all our workers, and meanwhile they're becoming more productive, so we got more stuff for us. We're going to take it all and go home and have a wonderful time. Screw everyone else. They didn't say that because it doesn't sound right. So they began the cult of the entrepreneur. Suddenly we were told stories of the genius of these people. So startling was their sudden genius that you realize that up until the 1970s, they must have been morons. And since they had gotten the job then, it means that big corporations gave big jobs to morons. But we didn't go there. We forgot all that. We just focused on how smart they were. We suddenly had books. Some of you may remember books about Lee Iacocca or Jack Webb from GE or one of the, and we were told wonderful stories. Oh, another one? Donald Trump. Books about how smart they were. And of course they should be paid 10, 20, 50, $100 million because the success of their corporations was this genius that had somehow developed in them around 1974. A lot of Americans bought those books. Anyway, when they became very rich, these corporate executives discovered something which they didn't tell us, which is they didn't know what to do about that. They didn't know how to invest their money. They were busy being the head of some corporation, which is a set of activities and skills that they acquired to manage other people, to pretend to be very busy, to have 17 secretaries, those important things that folks at the top of the corporate ladder do. But managing their own money wasn't one of them, and now they had an awful lot of it. Enter the capitalist solution. A bunch of people set up little companies called hedge funds. And what they did was go collect the money of these rich people, saying to them in a quiet way, without the public being present, look, CEO, when it comes to investment, you are a moron, you know it, and we know it. So here's what we're going to do. You give us all your money. We will manage and invest it in the ways you can't. And here's the deal. You pay us, it's called 2 and 20. You pay us 2% of the value each year of the money you give us. And in addition, we keep 20% of whatever the value of your portfolio goes up. 2 and 20. That's how hedge funds get paid. That's a normal rate. Okay? Well, if you're dealing in billions of dollars, which we now have, or hundreds of millions, this money adds up. If you take a look at the biggest wealth increases over the last 10 or 15 years, it's hedge funds. It's people who manage other people's money. Well, then how does this get taxed? Well, this is a service. Basically, you're doing a service, you're managing somebody's money, and you're getting a commission on the service. It's really no different than going into a shoe store, having a person help you try on some shoes. You buy the shoes, and they get a commission as part of their salary. Happens all the time. In every field in America where there's a salesperson who is selling a service and getting paid through a commission, the full amount of that commission is taxable like ordinary income. In other words, you pay the same tax as anybody else does for their salary. But the hedge fund folks got a law through the Congress that said they don't have to deal with it that way. Instead, they can pay what's called the capital gains rate, which is much, much lower. That's called the carry interest. Professor Fleischer thinks that that's outrageous. that's pandering to the richest people to get them out of having to pay the same rate of tax on their income that everybody else who works for a living pays. And he was picked by Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, to be his chief advisor. And if the election goes the wrong way, wow, the hedge fund people will have to think about what they're doing and come up with another method of escape. But they are very resourceful, and they always have been. So let's see, and I will keep you abreast of how things are going as they wiggle out of or try to this process.